Hey, everybody, and I hope everybody is doing well today. And pretty excited about jumping on here. And been a while since I've been on. I haven't. Last week I was on live, but I haven't been really doing a lot of lives lately. And honestly, haven't done my show in quite a while. But there's been quite a few things that have happened. I talked to you guys a little bit about that last week. But what I wanted to kind of chat about today is how to start working on healing your heart and getting into that heart space and really nurturing your heart space. And so, and talking about codependent habits that we all have, including especially healers and people are out there, taking on that role of helping people. And so, um, one of the things that's been a challenge for me all of my life is I've always been very much like my mother. She was always very giving and very loving. She was a nurse and a healer and was always out there trying to help others. And so, however, one of the things I want to talk to you about is if that goes against the things that are making you happy. In other words, if you wake up one morning and you really want to just kind of relax and not do anything, but you go out anyways, because there's an obligation you feel that you have to do. You've made a promise, or not only that you didn't make a promise, but you decide to go out because people are really kind of pushing you into going out and doing something, but you really need to take that time to rest. That can be considered to be codependent. Not saying all the time, but it is sometimes where you're kind of going against yourself, so to speak. The other thing is when one of the things that I had a challenge for, because I've always been kind of a calm person, is that people that talk to me in a way that was disrespectful, and I would just kind of look at them and go, "Oh, all right. Well, I guess you're having to deal with that. Whatever it is that you're what's going on with you." And then I would just walk away. However, what I've learned on an energetic level is that that still hurts you. So it's like acid being thrown on you. I used to have this person that I'd help get a job, was actually letting them stay with me for a while. And they would literally just be nasty to me on the way into work. I was actually giving them a ride into work as well. And when I would try to give them advice on, how to handle things and make things better for themselves, they would get belligerent and angry. And in the end, they end up accusing me of things that I never did. And so these are things that, as you let things go on in your life, and don't establish clear boundaries in the very beginning, then you're basically, without saying anything, you're giving people permission to mistreat you. What does that do to you in your heart space? Well, what it does is it makes it very heavy. And on a subconscious level, you start to feel like this is the way it is. And some of the realizations that I've come up, because I'm actually working on another book right now, is that a lot of this comes from my childhood, and a lot of it comes from all of our childhood. So now, when I say that, people are going to say, well, maybe you had a bad childhood. No, it's not about that. It's about, I actually had a very good childhood. However, the adults that are around me were around me when I was a kid. They were human beings just like the rest of us, and they make mistakes. And I witnessed some things that from family members that were nasty. And then I saw, and it's because they were in the heat of the moment and their emotions. And when you start to see that, you start to think that that's normal. And how do you respond? For me, I just started to respond where I just didn't want to deal with it because I'd watched it all the time when I was a kid. I'd seen unhealthy romantic relationships between people, and I just thought that that's the way it was. And these are things that you really have to. These come on a subconscious levels, because people will say, well, "I don't really feel like I have that within me." But when you start to unravel, when you do a session with them, and you start to unravel these things going on within them, you start to say, well, that's affecting you. Maybe you don't realize it on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level, definitely affecting you. And these are things that each person has to start thinking about when they're, working on their healing journey, so to speak. And so, um, just bear with me a second. I'm just changing the audience here on Facebook because always seems to be that I said it correctly and then it doesn't go in correctly, which is always very interesting. So, anyways, kind of going on about, I was just thinking about today the story about how in the Egyptian texts, when a person passes away and they start to go into the afterlife, their heart is measured against a feather. And so, what does that mean? It means that if their heart is heavier than a feather, then they get literally engulfed by this crocodile goddess and they take them into being tormented for eternity or whatever. And basically, for us, what that would really mean is they end up having to go back and reincarnate and living another life and so on. So, but what does that mean? Well, all these things where people have talked badly to us, whether it be lovers or family members, or we witnessed people being nasty, that weighs heavy on our heart. It weighs heavy in our energy. So we got to be kind of protective of our energy in our heart and in our heart space. And so why is that super important? It's important because you are a divine being. You are this incredible, beautiful soul that doesn't need to be treated that way. And now, why do people treat you that way? Well, because inside of them, they have a heavy heart. They have damage within themselves. They have trauma from their childhood. They have trauma from whatever parts of whoever they are and aspects of their energy. And so people treat you how they feel about themselves. Let me say that one more time. People treat you how they feel about themselves. And you allow people to treat you based on the value you set for yourself. And so if you got somebody that's always, you're always giving and giving and giving, and there's no reciprocal energy back. Now, I know some people are out there and say, well, the universe provides for me, and it provides me everything that I need in the moment that I need it. And that's true. It is true. However, and what I will say to you is that even though the universe provides to you and provides for you, and if there's not a reciprocal, the universe is going to, if you give out, the universe is going to give back and that kind of stuff. You are still a human being. You still have emotions. And what happens in spirituality a lot of times is we try to brush our emotions under the rug. And so I did a TikTok video the other day where I was talking about you have to talk things through. In other words, what that means is that you have to face the hurt and the pain, or you have to try to process what's going on within you and the emotions that are around you. So what happens is that human beings, especially in the Western culture, we don't like to face our emotions. So if somebody pisses us off or hurts us, we think that it's bad to experience those emotions. And obviously you don't want to sustain that anger. I get that. However, the only way to actually overcome and transmute that energy and those emotions is by facing them head on and working right through them. So I always say, allow it to come in. And so what I kind of do is I start to face these things where people hurt me. If I felt betrayed, I look at that. Then I ask myself the question, where did I betray myself? And a lot of times it's because I've allowed another human being to treat me in a way that is not okay. And so in a sense, because I've done that and allowed that, I've really kind of betrayed myself. And I know people relate to this. Who here, I know I can't see you raise your hand, so just raise your hand metaphorically. Who here has said that they're going to do something, maybe a New Year's resolution at the beginning of the year, you said, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get healthier, and then you never did it? Who's done that? I'm sure that we've all done that. Who said that I'm not going to, especially when we're younger, we go out to party, we drink way too much, and we're like, I'll never do this again. And then you end up doing it again. And so, and what happens is when you really set an intention where it's really important to you and you really want to do it and you stop and don't do it, that's going to weigh heavy on your heart as well. So I'll give you an example. These certificates back here are the degrees that I've finished over the last few years. So many years ago, when I was 19, I graduated from high school. I went to Hillsborough Community College for music. And then several years I dropped out for whatever reason, because I had a job and I thought it was just going to blah, 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 all these reasons when you're young, right? Fast forward to about 28, I went back to college at the International Academy of Design and Technology and dropped out of that. I went for web design. and then went into the International American Intercontinental University, or AIU Online. And so I completed an associate's degree with them and went right into the bachelor's degree, and I dropped out again. And that this all spans over from like the time I was 28 until I was about 31, 32, something like that. Well, that weighed heavy on me for a very, very long time. And it literally sat there, and people would say, you don't need your degree, you already got this, and all that kind of stuff. And I got all that. But the truth is it weighed so heavy on me that finally a friend of mine said, for as long as you've been talking about finishing school, you could have already had it done. So when the pandemic came around, I was like sitting here doing nothing, and I went into doing it, and I finished it. But my point here is regret is heavy on the heart. So remember what I talked about, when we go into the Egyptian pantheon and the heart was measured against a feather. Well, you don't want to sit there and have regret on your heart and make you heavy in your heart, because that causes energetically a heaviness, not only in your heart, but throughout your entire body, because in the energy system, the heart is the center of your energy system. So you want to keep that energy flowing freely. And so the other thing that makes your heart heavy is we get caught up in these ideas of the way we think we should be. In other words, hold on a second. Is my shirt fine? Oh my goodness, I'm getting a little chubby here, fat here. If you want to lose weight, that's totally fine. Do it for the reasons of being healthy and because you want to feel better about yourself and have better energy and that kind of stuff. Don't do it because you think other people are going to judge you, or you're not going to find love, or that kind of stuff because you have weight on you. That's not true. It's not true, because the person that's supposed to love you and care about you is going to love and care about you for who you are. And the other part is that you might be skinny and muscular, and 40 years from now you might not be. And these are the things you have to start. Things change, dynamics change in our life, and we want quality people in our lives that jive with us or are in flow with us. And so that was a very hard lesson for me in my own personal life, because even on a level consciously, I didn't realize that I was allowing toxic people in my life. Now, why do we allow toxic people in our lives? Because there's a part of us that still has toxic thoughts. In other words, we think this is okay. And when we start to realize it's not okay, and then we start to set boundaries with people, as we start to change, then these people leave our lives. And I'm sure you've heard stories, you've experienced it before in your life. You start to set an intention in your life to better yourself, and then people that are in your lives, they get upset. They get upset because you're doing different things in your life. You're setting intentions that feel good for you. You start to make decisions for you that don't align with what they think you should do. And then people try to control you because they want things to stay the way they are. Well, here's the truth. Everything is always changing in this world. And because everything is always changing in this world, we want to actually go with the flow of the change. And if people don't change with us, then it's time for them to move on and for you to move on. So some of the techniques of keeping your heart space healed and in a place where you can really work in alignment with your soul and your heart are because you make decisions with your soul and your heart. Now, people will say to me, well, I'm not sure what that looks like. Well, I'll give you an example. A couple weeks ago, I had a friend that was leaving out of town and moving basically. And it was important for me to get up, but I had been out that night before, and I was actually tired when I woke up, and part of me didn't want to get up to see this person. But it was important for me to actually say goodbye because I cared about this person. And so I got myself up because it was important for me. And these are things, when things are important for you, you want to act on them. So I'll give you an example. Some of you out there, I know, because some of you are my clients and I've worked with you, have told me that, hey, I'm in a relationship that I'm not happy about because I don't feel like I'm being supported in my side of the life. I feel like I'm doing all the support of them. I'm in a job that I'm miserable in, and I really hate it. But you hold on to it because it's security. Or I don't like the way I feel about myself health-wise, but you keep on doing things that are unhealthy in your life. So those are things that are going to weigh heavy on your heart because on an energetic and an emotional level that this is something you have to change. And because you haven't that energy starts, that regret, that anxiety, that anger towards yourself, and all that kind of stuff starts to build up within you. And it's because there is a part of you that is flowing in a state. Now, I'm not talking about all these things that jump up and you're like, oh, I really feel like I should do this. Those are like side thoughts. I'm talking about the ones where really you know that you need to make a change. And here's the thing, when I work with a lot of clients or people, like get the example of a job, and they're in a job or a career that they don't really like, they're miserable in, and they're like, yeah, but I'm really scared to make that leap of faith and that change. Here's the truth. Nothing changes if you don't do anything at all. Nothing. You'll just stay stagnant, you'll stay complacent, and you'll still be miserable. And you'll say, well, I just need to change my attitude about it, because I've done that myself. And that's true. You can change your attitude about it, and you can feel somewhat better about it. Here's the thing. And you don't have to, I'm not saying go out and quit your job right now. What I'm saying is that, start taking actionable, decisive steps towards a goal for yourself. And some people say, well, I don't know what that goal is. Well, one of the things I had to do for myself is I had to look at myself and say, what are the things that have always made me happy? Like, what are the things that just have always resonated with me? And one of them is I love inspiring people. I love seeing people successful. I love being a part of their journey. I love being able to stand up and see people light up when I'm on a stage. And I love to get messages where people say, hey, thank you so much. That really helped you. And share it by sharing my experience in my own life. And so that I've always loved. And I've loved it since I was in 1998 when I took my first course and certification on learning how to train a class in corporate America. Loved it. I got what some people call the trainer's bug, and it was super exciting for me. I also love traveling. Well, I also love sharing my love of travel with other people. So I decided that I wanted to create and combine that all together. Another example of this is my mother. My mother loved helping people feel better. She loved seeing them where they were sick and not healthy, and seeing them walk out of the hospital or walk out of a place and help bring some happiness and better health to them. That's why she started off as a registered nurse. That's why she went into energetic healing. That's why she went into shamanism. That's why she studied Chinese medicine. That's why she did all that, because she really enjoyed seeing people healed and helping them. So she had to look at herself and say, all this time I've been doing nursing and things like that, and I really enjoyed that. That's why she started getting into the healing aspect. And so these are kind of things. So you have to kind of look at these consistent ideas. And this idea of being a speaker and helping people started when I was about 7 years old, 6 or 7 years old, because I used to see the head of our church speaking up on a stage, and there'd be thousands of people. And I used to visualize and see myself, and actually had dreams about myself standing up there. Now, 7-year-olds don't necessarily have that. Now, some people are going to say, well, I don't necessarily have profound things like that. Not true. Not true at all. Some people have told me things like, I really love kids. I love being around kids. I love their energy. I love being around them. I love, playing and coloring in the coloring books with them. I love seeing how they express themselves. And then, so one of the opportunities from them could be being a school teacher. Now, some people would say, no, that's not what I want to do. But somewhere around kids is going to be something. It could be just teaching a Sunday school, or it could be teaching an art class to kids. It doesn't matter. It could be running a daycare, whatever it is, find that in there. So you have to start looking at what you do is you start looking at the things that make you happy, and then you start looking at your experience throughout your life. So maybe there's a lot of things. And if you look, like I have a friend, she started off as a swim coach and a swim teacher back when she was in her teenage years. So she started teaching swimming. And then she became a social worker and a school teacher, and now is an energetic healer and teaches that and mentors people. So that's something to take a look at. Started teaching all these years and started building up throughout their life, because everything you've done up to this point is preparing you for the next moment, and it's preparing you for right now. So there's a couple things I want you to take away from this presentation, from Healing Your Heart. One, follow the guidance. Follow those things that make you feel passion in your life. That's an energy that's trying to push you in a direction We call it inspiration. You get inspired by things. Follow that. Follow your inspiration. Or as Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. And so the second thing is actually take actionable steps on that, but also start creating boundaries for yourself so you can take actionable steps. Because people will say to me, well, I love to take those actionable steps, but I don't have time. And where am I going to have time? You have to make time. So, and I can guarantee you, if I started assessing it with you, there'll be areas of your life where you're making decisions for your life based on what other people want you to do for them, or making decisions that are going against yourself and your own passion. I had a lady tell me once that she was asked, had like 5 projects that were happening in her life, 5 commitments that she had made that she didn't want to do, and she had a consistency of doing that over and over and over again. This is a client of mine. And so what ended up happening is I said, well, wait a second, if you don't want to do it, then why are you doing it? Well, because I want to be a good person. I'm like, who said you're not a good person? And she said, she goes, really what I want to do is do this, but I don't ever have time to do it. Okay, well then you have to start saying no. No is a great word. It's a 1-syllable word. It's very easy to say verbally. The reason why it's hard is because the codependency and the ideas that we think we have to do, and we're going against ourselves, and that makes our heart heavy. The next thing to do, like I mentioned here, is to actually start, like I mentioned, take actionable steps, but you don't have to do it in big things. You start doing it in small things. You can start learning how to do things for your business. You can start taking time for yourself every day. I say just start with 30 minutes. 30 minutes for yourself. Now, one of the things I do in my own business is I work on it, something with it every single day. My business gets touched every single day. If it's least for an hour, I touch my business every single day because it's important to me. And these are things that we have to start doing. You have to work on your goal every single day. If it's about health, then you make sure that you, at the very least, eat better every single day and make new choices so you can start changing your habits from the old ones that you're trying to change within your life. And so these are kind of things you have to say. And then the other thing is you have to start talking to that inner dialogue, because there's an inner dialogue in all of us. There's an inner dialogue that's trying to make you feel guilty. It's trying to make you feel like you shouldn't do that. There's just a lot of things that you have to start thinking about. I'm going to leave you guys with that. There's a couple things I want to say to you. I know some of you are excited about Scotland. I have a Scotland trip happening November 22nd to November 29th. We'll be going to staying in Largs, which is a small town about 15 minutes outside of Glasgow. We'll be going to Glasgow in Edinburgh, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I'll have the website up early next week. We're just putting some final touches on it so that I can get that out there. I'm trying to make it as affordable as possible. And so some of us have already bought our plane tickets, and we're very excited to go. There will be some classes, but a lot of it will be actually going and seeing sites and just enjoying being in Scotland and enjoying that energy. There's also my friend Jane Dawson that's hosting this with me, and she's going to be doing a night of mediumship where you can actually experience that, and she's very good. So there will be a lot of great energies and things to come. So I'll be launching that soon. I also have a retreat in August, and I'm going to look at that spot tomorrow in Clearwater Beach. It'll actually be on Clearwater Beach. And so there's a lot of cool things. And then I have a new webinar series that's coming out here within the next few weeks as well. So much love, everybody. I hope everybody is having an incredible summer, and just much love. And I am available for sessions. If anybody would like to have a session with me, my website is www.storytellingalchemist.com. And I'm just going to throw it right up here so you can see it. It's www.storytellingalchemist.com. Everybody, have an amazing night. Peace and much love. Bye-bye.